Good afternoon, people of Northern Cyprus. This is the Mental Health and Psychological Wellbeing Department of VOIS Cyprus. Today we're interviewing Ms. Ariel Ladum, who is a Senior Instructor in the Psychology Department of Eastern Mediterranean University. Welcome, Ms. Ariel Ladum.
Thank you.
Ms. Ariel Ladum investigated a study research that investigates the psychological adaptation of international students in Eastern Mediterranean University. Can you please tell our viewers what was the research about and the procedure that was carried out in the research?
Yes, so this summer I was lucky enough to work with a very hardworking team of undergraduate research assistants who helped to distribute questionnaires around Famagusta and at E.M.U. We were collecting data that focused on the role of social support in determining psychological adaptation, specifically the positive and negative emotional responses that students have to being in North Cyprus. We looked at demographic factors, including gender, age, country of origin, Turkish and English proficiency, expectations of North Cyprus, as well as financial satisfaction. We also focused on cultural distance, so how differently do I perceive the host culture from my home culture? We looked at social support, so this was functional social support. Do I have people around me to help me to accomplish certain tasks and to help spend time with me, talk to me when I'm feeling down, as well as looking at acculturative stress. So acculturative stress is the specific experiences that students have when they adapt to a new host culture.
Very well. It was also mentioned in the research that there were two outcome measures in this study, which was one of them is the stress experiences that the stress students experience from adapting to Northern Cyprus, and the second one was the positive and negative emotional responses from being in Northern Cyprus. So can you tell us what have the results indicated concerning these two measures?
Yes, for acculturative stress, we found that students who were less financially satisfied experienced more acculturative stress. We also found that students who had more social support experienced less acculturative stress. We also found that expectations played a role. So that if a student had unmet expectations, he or she experienced more acculturative stress.
All right, so what about the psychological adaptation?
So for the psychological adaptation, expectations also played a role in that. So if I had unmet expectations, I had more negative emotional responses to Northern Cyprus. Also, if I experienced more acculturative stress, I would have more negative emotional responses. Two other predictors that have surprising relationships with psychological adaptation were relationship status and Turkish proficiency. Results showed that students who had like a significant other in their lives experienced more negative emotional responses to being in Northern Cyprus, which we did not predict. It also showed that having better Turkish proficiency predicted more negative emotional responses, which was quite interesting because on the one hand, Turkish proficiency predicted more social support, and more social support predicts less acculturative stress, and less acculturative stress predicts better psychological adaptation. Yeah, but on the other hand, better Turkish proficiency also predicts more negative emotional responses to North Cyprus, so more research needs to be done in that area to figure out exactly what is going on with Turkish proficiency and its role in students' adaptation.
What about the implications?
Well, one implication, I think, would be for students to have better Turkish proficiency, even though it's associated with more negative emotional responses, it's also associated with more social support. Another implication is that students should perhaps have access to other means of financial support, perhaps work-study programs within the university, making mental health resources more available to students as well would be an implication.
Great. So I want to point out generally to our viewers that this is about cultural distance, acculturative stress, the social support and the psychological adaptation of international students in Northern Cyprus. Can you tell us, given your findings and the study results, can you tell us your personal suggestions and recommendations to overcome or better the conditions in Northern Cyprus to help students that face these problems?
Well, the expectations that students have before arriving played an important predictive role both in their level of acculturative stress and in those positive and negative emotional responses. So I think organizing pre-departure orientations or providing at least more information or more accurate information to students before they arrive in Northern Cyprus really is a key to ameliorating their psychological adaptation.
Thank you, Ms. Ariel Ladum, for conducting such an important and necessary research, and we hope that the findings and recommendations would be taken into consideration by the stakeholders. Thank you so much to our viewers as well for watching, and for more information in this research and the findings, click on the link below.
Thank you.